Why didn't you just pick a common name like Matt or something like that?
Muhammad is the most commonly used name on earth. Read a book.
Imagine auditioning for a film that was produced by, at the time, one of the biggest names in the entire industry.
Superbad took forever. I mean, Superbad was floating around when we were doing Freaks and Geeks, and everyone said no forever.
Neither you or your co-stars are the typical leading men.
Do people regard you as being part of the new Hollywood? Do you get that a lot?
I mean, I'm not gonna say, no one here has ever heard of me, I'm sure, believe me. I don't think.
Actually, it seems like all of you are far from it. But little did you know that this film would grow to become one of the most nonsensical, heartfelt,
I missed you. I missed you too.
and vulgar comedies ever made.
All right, I gotta take a piss. My it's not gonna shave itself. Come on, baby.
Oh, like,
You know, you scratch our backs, we'll scratch yours.
Well, Jules, the funny thing about my back is that it's located on my.
Fogel, shut the and take off your vest. You look like Aladdin.
She wants my in or around her mouth.
You got like 24 jobs.
Yes, and 3/4 of a job, but who's counting, Evan?
So, a lot of kids have this phase where they're afraid to grow up. Most want the independence just without all the responsibility. They're not ready to leave those they've grown comfortable with.
You gonna miss each other?
No, miss each other? No, thank you. I know I don't miss each other.
They're not content with what they've accomplished thus far.
I've wasted the last 3 years of my life sitting around talking bullshit with you, man. Instead of chasing girls and making friends, I've just sat around wasting all my time with you.
That seems to be the core of this film, but as relatable as these themes are, what really drew me in was how accurately it depicted the life of an everyday teenager.
When am I gonna need to cook tiramisu? Am I gonna be a chef? No, there's 3 weeks left in school. Give me a break.
So here's the thing. In the 90s and the early 2000s, there was always this social hierarchy within coming-of-age films. There was usually a clear gap between the popular kids, the nerds, or the burnouts. There was always a fear of mingling with the other groups. You tended to always stick to your own.
What, Laney Boggs? Nah, no. Hey, a bet's a bet, bro, right, Preston?
However, this isn't really the case in real life. Now, don't get me wrong, there still exists popular kids and those people we perceive as nerds, but for the most part, everyone is usually comfortable engaging with one another.
Hey, Abby. What's up, Evan?
Hey, Gabby.
Look at Evan, okay? Just look at him.
Hey, don't keep me waiting much longer. I'm getting impatient up here.
Especially outside of school where there's not much social pressure. Superbad gives a more accurate depiction of the social dynamics of high school life. There really aren't any discernible jocks within the entire film, and even people who are more in shape than either Evan or Seth are often on the receiving end of bullying.
We're down 2 points. Calm down, Greg. It's soccer. It's soccer.
You, man.
Hey, Greg, why don't you go piss your pants again?
That was like 8 years ago, ass.
People don't forget.
Even Fogel, the most on-the-nose depiction of a nerd, is still able to get the girl.
Wait for me, Nicola. Wait for me on the outside.
We were gonna go to Hawaii.
Jules clearly is one of the popular girls, but is attracted to Seth given his absurdist sense of humor.
And she likes me at least a little, enough to get with me.
And even when the boys are bullied on their way home, their antagonists don't really seem all that cool. I mean, the main guy is wearing glasses and one of the worst fits I've ever seen. This film feels like it knows exactly what the average high school experience was like, as if it were itself written by 2 teenagers. And interestingly enough, it was, or so the initial draft.
We just had a lot in common, and so we started hanging out, and we started trying to write Superbad like when we were like 13.
Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg had based a lot of the script on their own personal life experience.
Writing out that it had happened to us in like scene form, basically, and making it funnier than it was in real life.
There was a massive part of them within these characters, so much so that they'd even age alongside them.
When we were 13, they were 13, and then they got older as we got older. I think when we were 13, we probably didn't even realize we should be paying much attention to how old they were.
They'd spent years documenting their own lives as teenagers within the pages of this ever-evolving script. There was just one problem. They were too young to understand the complexities of human emotion, as well as too young to really express it. However, with time came enough comfort to tackle a more meaningful approach to the story, and with ample life experience, they had the recipe for the ideal comedy.
Now we understand so much more about like the structure of movies.
This film works so well because Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg are following the golden rule of depicting real life. Write what you know.
Like, Seth was not that freaking out. He was a pretty relaxed guy in high school. And I was not terrified of women to the most insane degree. But I wasn't the most courageous fellow on earth.
Yeah, I mean, and I was definitely kind of like the jerky guy out of the two of us, and Evan kind of the nicer, more normal guy.
Rogen and Goldberg knew every bit of these characters, every experience within the film.
You guys on MySpace, or?
They shared nearly everything with the two leads, even their names, Evan and Seth. Even better was their ability to cast individuals who could better portray the average teenager.
I mean, how self-centered can you be? Seriously, you were fine with letting Fogel take the fall back there.
Every day, dozens of kids roll into their liquor store with their fake IDs, trying to act all Joe casual, and each and every one of these kids just so happen to be 21. How many 21-year-olds do you think there are?
With a delivery that made for some of the most memorable lines in comedy history.
McLovin? What kind of a stupid name is that, Fogel? What, are you trying to be an Irish R&B singer? This guy's either gonna think, here's another kid with a fake ID, or here's McLovin, the 25-year-old Hawaiian organ donor.
It was so refreshing to see people who looked like they could have gone to your high school on screen. What seemed even more accurate was just how vulgar and immature these kids were. I mean, getting laid seemed like a major deal back then.
You know when you hear girls saying like, I was so faced last night, I shouldn't have that guy. We could be that mistake.
A lot of kids were obsessed with being perceived as cool, enough to even craft their entire outward personality towards what they think is most appealing.
I never see you at parties or anything.
It's because of all the other fun shit I'm off doing.
Things like cursing, partying, and an obsession with adult content was all a part of the teenage experience. Some people who haven't seen the film might watch it today and think, this is absurdly vulgar, and they'd be right.
Oh, Evan, thank you for bringing that lube for my I never would have been able to handle your 4-inch.
But that's expected when you're writing characters who are both young and naive, and when the whole comedic climate was a bit more unfiltered. When you're in high school, a lot of your goals are superficial, and this film pretty accurately depicts that.
And now because of you, I'm going to college, a friendless virgin.
The three of them are making up for lost time, trying to overcome their insecurities and have one final solid night to end their senior year.
These eyes are crying.
Now, when you get older, high school obviously doesn't matter, but to them, it's everything. And feeling like they've missed out on life only heightens their sense of urgency.
We were supposed to go to college together, Evan. Since we were little kids, since elementary school, that's all we've ever talked about.
But these themes of missing out are only part of the puzzle. The thing I really like about this film is just how uncomfortable Evan and Seth are at expressing their appreciation towards one another.
I mean, we're not dependent on each other, you know? I mean, it's like we met when we were 8, you know, we were fine before then.
Being vulnerable and open with your friends is something that a lot of men find difficult, let alone teenagers. Evan and Seth are clearly attached at the hip. They hung out almost every day and have been best friends for years, but it takes a falling out and the realization that they won't be seeing each other after high school for them to outwardly express how much they mean to one another.
I'm not even embarrassed to say it. I love you.
I'm not embarrassed.
Love you.
I love you.
I just love you. I just want to go to the rooftops and scream, I love my best friend, Evan.
We should go up on my roof.
Even acknowledging that it's not a common thing.
Why don't we say that every day? Why can't we say it more often?
This is the result of most of their actions being entirely ego-driven.
You said something earlier about like a fake ID or something, right?
I'm getting that for show.
Teenage boys are used to portraying this tough macho exterior in order to fit in.
Do you know who I am? I'm Fogel! The joint can't hold me! Holy shit, Fogel's a badass.
But you find for most, it's usually surface level. When Evan and Seth arrive at the party with actual adults, they realize this is not their style at all. Evan is pulled into a room and pressured to sing.
My brother came all the way from Scottsdale, Arizona to be here tonight. And you're not gonna sing for him? Bullshit.
thing.
Seth unintentionally starts a fight when he dances with someone's girlfriend, which he absolutely wants no part of. It's essentially this in a nutshell.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Now, to a lot of people, Superbad is just a comfort watch, a film reflective of an era where teen comedies were filled with nonsensical and raunchy bits.
Just block McLovin. Okay, he's our friend. We don't do that. We should be guiding his not blocking it.
To others, it's a pretty spot-on portrayal of the high school experience.
You don't want to, you know.
Not, right now.
The superficial goals of your average student.
This whole thing is bigger than you, Fogel. So grow a pair of nuts and walk in there and buy the alcohol.
And the fears of growing up.
I'm afraid to live with strangers.
It's developed a cult following for a reason, and after 17 years, still stands as one of, if not the greatest coming-of-age comedy ever made.